So what do you think when I say missions?
I am so unprepared for this. Missions, I don't know. I guess I think of doing some kind of a ministry that involves people, but not necessarily where you normally live or normally are stationed at.
I think of loving people wherever you're at. Doesn't have to be anywhere specific, but just wherever you're at.
I think about my trip to Eswatini in 2018 with Sims. It changed my whole life. I felt my call to ministry strengthened.
I think kids, just hanging out with kids in other countries and playing games, playing soccer.
Going to other countries and serving others, either in a medical setting or building a school or a church.
Right off the bat, I think about a trip I went to Africa in Eswatini.
I think of helping people in need, whether it be in your local area or around the world.
What do you think of when I say mission trips?
Mission trips. Something that will impact your life.
Sims!
Oh gosh, Karen. Yeah, I'm going to interview you. Okay, so what do you think when I say mission?
Probably Sims. I mean, the first thing that's coming to mind. I almost went on one, I know that, but COVID canceled it, so.
First thought is the Sims trip I went on to Africa with TLC. And then my second thought is make sure you go.
That's a good one. I like those answers. Okay, so that is just a little clip of some people that I interviewed over the last couple of weeks about what they think of whenever I say missions or mission trips. So some of you are familiar and understand what mission trips are, and some of you are not. So I'm just going to go through a little kind of myths and help you to kind of understand what a mission trip is and what it is not. So the first myth that I'm going to talk about is that trips are places where we give poor people things for free. That is not true. We go to build relationships with other people. We go and make relationships with congregations. We come alongside people that already live there. So we don't come in and do programs or projects or whatever. We just go and live life for a little bit of time with other people. The second myth is that trips are about doing things for other people. They're really not about doing things for other people. Again, we walk with other people. We come alongside them. We engage in relationship with them. So it's not about us doing for them. It's doing things with them and enabling them and encouraging them to do the things that they already are doing. The third one is trips are about changing people and saving them. This is one that you'll hear very often, that you go on a mission trip to save people. I want to be really clear. Christ is the only one that can change your life. And we believe that. We don't believe that we go places and change people. We're not going to go and save them. Honestly, and if you ever go on a trip, I promise you it's one of the first things you'll learn. God is already there. We do not bring God with us to Africa. God is in Africa. He's working in Africa, and the people in their lives there, he's already there. He's active. He's in all places all over the world. So we don't bring God with us. We don't go change people. We don't save people. We just walk alongside them and live life with them. The next one is that we pick the locations. I do talk to a lot of people, but we only go where we are invited. We only go where we'll be helpful, and people ask us to actually come because they have something that they would like for us to do. The next one is that trips are expensive. Well, I will tell you they are not cheap. However, it will be the best experience of your life. It will be something that other people will want to help you do. People love to give to missions. We help you fundraise. I've never had a student that has wanted to go on a trip that has not been able to go because of finances. So if you are interested in going, please don't let the expense of it keep you from going. And then last, that trips are long. I don't know if you realized it, I don't know if you counted up, but you have 13 weeks from the end of school in May until school starts again in August. 13 weeks is a long time. Most of our trips are only about 2 weeks. So taking about 10 days to 14 days out of your summer is not really a long time. So I'd like for you to watch this video. I interviewed a couple of students that went this last summer on a trip. And so if you'll watch this video, you will learn more about it. Why did you choose to go on a missions trip with Sims specifically?
I kind of chose Sims because, well, actually it was the day that you came into the lunchroom and you were talking about it, and I never really thought about doing it. It's like, oh, that seems really cool, and I was into a lot of that in high school and middle school, and I hadn't really gotten any of that community missions aspect in college, and so I was like, oh, I think that would be really fun. And then in addition to that, came the community of traveling with people your own age, and that really just brought a completely different aspect for Sims, I guess.
So you were signed up to go in 2020.
Yes.
So why did you decide to go ahead and go for 2021?
Well, I was kind of thinking would I ever be able to do this again? Because my future is going to be so busy. Like I said, I have my master's, I have track, and I planned on moving up north just to start my career. And I was like, I will never have this opportunity again, especially people who I know with and I have grown with over the past 4 years at SNU.
Since my calling to missions when I was in sophomore year, I really didn't know what to do with that, and I've always wanted to experience a missions trip. So when I saw Sims, I immediately applied. I was like, oh, this is SNU and missions. And then I heard that all the other students are involved, and it's just random pairing. I'm like, sweet, it'll give me the atmosphere of meeting new people and also working with different people as well.
So what were you most nervous about before your trip?
I think mine was feeling as if I didn't know enough about Christ to tell people about Christ.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking how can I teach the kids, because we were doing children's ministry, if I don't even know the stories we're going to be talking about. But then I kept thinking about it, God doesn't send you out into battle without your armor. So he will equip you even when you do not feel equipped. And so I just had to get it out of my mind, and then when we got there, it's it kind of just rolled off my tongue. It was something so simple and so easy that I didn't think I was able to do.
I went to Wasilla, Alaska, and I was most nervous about getting out of my comfort zone, especially whenever we learned that we were going on a camping trip in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness.
No water.
No water.
No electricity.
No electricity, no showers, no sinks. That was probably the most nerve-wracking, but it ended up being the best part of the trip, in my opinion. It really got me out of my comfort zone, and I realized a lot of things that God was trying to tell me through that, and just showing me that I don't need all of these things that I thought that I were necessities. And it gave me a lot of quiet time with God to really rediscover what He was trying to tell me in my life.
I think that we were oh, I can do things I didn't think I could do.
Yes.
I guess for me, it's my first time ever on a plane, stuff like that. So and it's my first time ever actually doing something that exciting, I guess. And I was all oh, I don't think for some reason I don't think I'll be able to go. I just had a thought in my mind that it's set to go to Alaska, but I doubt for some reason this is gonna be something that's gonna hold me back from going that bad.
Did you guys worry about money, raising money?
I did for sure for the Brazil trip, but it was so crazy because out of nowhere, my other half was filled really quickly when I found out we were going this year.
I definitely was, but then once I started doing it, once we were encouraged to do that, and I figured out people love to give for stuff like Sims, and they love to support you and get updated on your ministry.
Where did you see God on your trip?
I kind of saw Him in multiple areas. So the church we were actually at had no kids, absolutely not a single child, and our goal was to do VBS. So we're all thinking, how are we going to do VBS with no kids? And so it was so crazy because the first day, we had a little girl who has never left her mom's side, and she dropped her off. She was just crying, bawling. By the next day, that little girl was begging her grandma, like, can I be there early? And by the end of the VBS, we have 10 kids. And it was so crazy because God provided in that instance where we didn't think we could even like do it.
Working at Frontlines was really like where I saw God work. Just like a bunch of like people who are like have the same goal and like want to like provide for the same person basically, and make it the same group of people. And just like seeing how like God has like transformed them and like I guess provided them with like this opportunity to like serve, and like they're like them just volunteering and stuff like that. It's just like it was amazing. And yeah, the VBS program as well, that was really fun. And just seeing like how like small verses, like just like one verse a day can like impact the kids, and they can just like be all excited about learning it and like memorizing it and stuff like that. It was just, I saw God working through that. I really want to work with like kids and like youth and stuff like that. And I've like preached some sermons, but like I guess kind of like getting to like the children's department atmosphere, I guess, was really good for me.
Who should consider going on a trip, on a Sims trip?
Everyone.
Why?
Because I was personally a person who I had said my freshman year, I was like, oh, I could never do that. But then once I did it, I was like, oh, everyone should do this. Like, it is incredible. Even if that's way out of your comfort zone. Like, it's just an experience that I don't think you'll ever have again. Just getting to go to these great places and serve people. I just feel like that's something that you don't get very often. And so I think that everybody should consider doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like anyone should honestly think about it. Just for the experience, but also you don't know, like, when you go, anyone you could impact. You could impact, like I said, one of the little girls at VBS or someone who was homeless. So, like, even if you think of it as like, oh, it's just a trip, it can be something that moves someone to closer to God.
Well, then that kind of leads me to like a question about you personally. Like, what do you not want to forget about your trip? What's the thing that kind of just has stayed with you? Even, you know, we're a couple months out so far.
Probably the relationship that I got from God, like drawing closer to God in that moment. And probably just because of the simplicity of, like, again, the camping trip. But even more than that, like just the whole period, I just felt like every day, like I was drawing closer to God and spending more time like in the Word and praying. And that was something that I haven't focused on in a long time. And so once I kind of got a taste of that, I was like, oh, I need to keep this up. Like, this is incredible. And so that's kind of something that I don't want to forget, like that experience of just drawing closer to God and having that feeling.
I feel like mine's more centered towards the state of Hawaii. We were actually helping some of the homeless, and we ran into a native who actually helps with the sea life. And he told me how so many tourists come in every day and no one is there to help. And how he's fighting for his daughter to have the same rights as a sea lion have the rights to be treated fairly to their native land. And it was so crazy because people who come there do not come to help, or like they just come to sightsee or like litter, all that stuff. And it's how much the natives put into help, even though no one else is putting in to help them. So that's one of my biggest things I would want to keep with me, because anywhere you go, like, they all need help, even the smallest areas. So,
and I think that's true about anywhere that you travel, whether you travel vacation or you travel for a mission trip, is to be sensitive and aware of where you're going and who lives there and what their culture is. I think that's one of the things that hopefully we emphasize in training, is to be very sensitive to the culture and be very sensitive to the people that are indigenous to that area.
I guess for me personally, there's a lot of things that I definitely don't want to forget, like the bus incident. That was one of the funny ones. But
Yeah.
I guess it
turned out well.
Yeah. On a serious note, I guess probably just like the impact we left, like all of us working as a team and like the VBS, stuff like that. Because I was like, oh, I just came back from this station. I'm like, well, guess what? You're gonna have some more exciting things going on in this station as well. And they just keep moving on. It was just so fun. And then like also like whenever like we started like incorporating like the dancing and that, and like at first like I was like we're all kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I think we're all like kind of like reluctant about it. We're like, oh, we don't know if we should dance. Yeah. And all of a sudden we just got out of our comfort zones, and like by the last day everybody was on the stage dancing. And I was just like, I think about that every now and then. I'm like, that was just so hilarious. We memorized the songs and the dance moves. It's just so hilarious. But I definitely don't want to forget that, because we brought like a lot of like excitement to the kids' lives because of the Word of God, and so it's pretty cool.
So I do want to talk to you guys just a little bit more today before I dismiss you. I believe that every single one of you are here intentionally and purposefully. I believe that you're here at SNU this year for this specific time in your life. Whether you chose this place or this place chose you, God chose you to be here. So Dallas Willard, he's a great author. There's a quote from him. It says, "You are an unceasing spiritual being with an eternal destiny in God's great universe." And I believe that. I believe that you have an eternal destiny and that you're here for a reason, that you are made on purpose and that you're made for a purpose. And so I believe that everyone in this room, including myself, at some time in your life, and probably for a lot of you, that time is right now in your life, that you wrestle with what your calling is. In other words, why are you here? Why are you here at school? What are you going to do whenever you leave here? What is your calling? Whenever I meet you, a lot of times, and I'm sure a lot of you out here have had this question posed to you from me, but what is your dream job? I ask students that all the time because I want you to think about your future. I want you to think about what you're doing now that will help you to accomplish what that dream is that you have in your life. And so when I ask you what your dream job, a lot of you say, "Oh, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon," or "I want to be an ICU nurse," or whatever it is. But then there's a lot of you that say, "I don't really know. I don't really have a dream job. I don't really know what my calling is." Well, in our house, we call ourselves Team Thomason, so there's 6 of us now because we got a girl a couple years ago. And so one of the things, or what we say our calling is, we believe that if you're a Christ follower, there's 3 things that God calls you to. He calls you to love God, to love others, and make disciples. So if you're a Christ follower, that is your calling in life. Regardless of what your vocation might end up being, your calling in life is to love God, love others, and make disciples. So your first calling is to love God. When I was a student here, I'll back up just a second. Rick Warren, he says the first purpose of your life calling is to let God love you. So when I was a student here, I was transferred as a sophomore. And when I showed up here at SNU, one of the things that I encountered was a God that loved me. He wasn't loving me for who I was going to become or who I could become, but he loved me right there where I was as a 20-year-old student, not really knowing where I was going to go in my life. He loved me. And by loving me, I learned to love God. In Matthew 11, 28 through 30, the Message, I love the translation of the Message. It says, "Come to me, walk with me, work with me, learn the unforced rhythms of grace." And that's what I did when I came to school here. I learned to love God. The second calling is to love others. In The Principle of the Path, Andy Stanley, I love him. He's a great author. He's a great pastor. In his book, The Principle of the Path, he says direction determines destination. It's true for anybody, every single one of you out here. It doesn't matter if you're a believer in Christ or not a believer in Christ. Your direction will determine your destination. If you leave today and head north on I-35, you're going to end up in Kansas City. You are not going to end up in Dallas. Regardless of what plans you've made in Dallas, you're going to end up in Kansas City. Same thing with your life. The decisions that you make will shape your destiny. It will shape where you end up in life. So your decisions steer you in a certain direction, and those directions always lead to destinations. And I could talk to you endlessly about this principle of the path. Well, for me, the destination that I wanted in my life was to love others. And so I have made decisions that have led me in certain directions, that have led me to the destination of loving others, which in reality led me back here to SNU to work here 6 years ago. So the last one is to make disciples. As a follower of Jesus Christ, this is a calling on your life, is to make disciples. It's the Great Commission. The call on your life involves other people. You are made for relationship. Nobody's probably in this room sitting by themselves. You want to be connected to other people. People don't like to go to the movies by themselves. People don't like to eat by themselves. Some of you like to study by yourselves, but for the most part, we don't like to study by ourselves. We are made for relationship. We're made to be in community with other people, and community takes it a little bit deeper. That means we want to share Christ with other people. So I'm going to tell you my why a little bit, about why I'm standing here today. I am the director of SIMS. And the reason I stand here before you today is because in June of 2018, I was already working in the Office of Christian Formation, and Blair came to me. We were about 2 weeks leaving to go to Costa Rica for a mission trip for our youth group. And he came to me and he said, would you consider being the director of SIMS? And I was like, yeah, I'll pray about that. So I prayed about it, came back about a week later and said, I think I can do that. See, when I came to school here as a sophomore, I was not very confident, but I've changed a lot in the last several years. And so now I was like, I think I can do that. And Blair asked me an interesting question. He said, but do you want to? And I was like, well, that's an entirely different question. Like, I had confidence that I could do it. I wasn't so sure that I wanted to do it. So that was an entirely different question for me. See, anyone can go on a SIMS trip. Every single one of you, it's an opportunity that every single one of you have because you're a student here. But the question for you today is, do you want to? Do you want to learn to love God? Do you want to allow God to love you and so that you learn to love him? Do you want to love others in such a way that you serve them? And do you want to be called to Christ's likeness by making disciples? Is that what you want for your life? I believe that summer, God changed my location to change my perspective on things. I did go to Costa Rica. I left the next day and went to Costa Rica with this question in my mind, do you want to? I had decisions to make in my life that would lead me in a certain direction, that would lead me to a certain destination. But what I had to do first was decide, where did I want to be? Where in life did I want to be? And so that was my destination. So then I shaped my decisions to lead me to the destination that I wanted to be. I wanted to be in a place where I was making disciples, where I was loving others. So my destination was shaped by the decision that I made. So this is my why. This is what happened to me while I was in Costa Rica. So I saw these little girls playing in the street while our students were talking with them, playing with them, just really living life with them. See, our students that summer changed their location, and it also changed their perspective. There's at least probably 5, 8 students still here at SNU that were on this trip. It was life-changing for a lot of them. The people in the little community that we worked in at the Nazarene church there, they loved the people that lived in their community. It was kind of like this hill. There was like 5 layers to it, I guess. And they loved their community. They longed for them to know the love of God. These were hardworking people. In Costa Rica, there's no such thing as vacation days. So you work and you get paid, or you don't work and you don't get paid. So the people that worked in this community loved their community, but they couldn't take off work to actually do things for the kids in the community. So we came alongside them, encouraged them, led a vacation Bible school for 50 or 75 kids that only spoke Spanish for 6 hours a day. That's a long time. We built a soccer and a basketball court for the kids that those people loved. They actually only wanted good things for them. And so we didn't go down there to save them. We went down there just to love on those kids, to love on that community of people, to love on the people that were in that community. We didn't go to change them, But God changed us and God changed me. See, this is where God said, this is what I want for your life. I want you to have an opportunity to tell students at SNU that they can change their location, to change their perspective. It changed my life. It changed me to be the person. That's why I'm standing here today, is because I want to have an opportunity to give you guys an opportunity to be a light in a dark world. To be able to bring, not bring your own thoughts and ideas to cultures, but to be able to go into another culture and learn from them and learn who they are and rub shoulders with them. We work to know other people, to encourage them and to love them. So I would just want to say, please join me this summer. It may be the only chance that you have to go on a mission trip. I tell students all the time, this is the best time in your life to go on a mission trip. Nobody's going to pay for a mission trip after you graduate because you're supposed to get a job and pay for things yourself, right? And it's probably the only time you'll have because, again, after you graduate, you need to get a job and start paying for your own things. So, if you'll watch this video real quick.
Without a glimpse of the light, running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, hat pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, darling, you were meant to survive. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
So I hope you'll join me this summer by going on a trip. If you have any questions, please email me, call me. There's posters all over campus that have a QR code that has a link to the application. See you guys.